What's up, fam of Liberty, and also everyone else who's watching this video who isn't following our channel for some mystifying reason? It's your boy Big Sarge, of the artist formerly known as Admin Tim. I'm the shit-talking, foul-mouthed founder of the Sons of Liberty social media organization that's been steadily enraging MAGA fuckface ass clowns since 2015, and more recently, some super woke leftists who thought I was just going to ignore their bullfuckery too. If you saw us out in the streets at a protest for the first time and or you're new to our channel, I know what you might be thinking, so let me just go ahead and get this out of the way. Fuck Donald Trump. Fuck neo-Nazi illegal immigrant Elon Musk. Fuck GOP politicians. Fuck these limp-dick Democrat politicians that aren't fighting for us tooth and nail. And also fuck the billionaires, the wealth hoarders that have their fucking boots on the neck of just about every American citizen. Neither this channel nor its comment sections are a safe space for bootlicking simps for a Russian asset, convicted felon, adjudicated rapist, Wish.com fascist oligarch, failed insurrectionist, wannabe authoritarian tyrant, warmonger, or his sugar daddy, the world's biggest supervillain, thin-skinned, beta bitch made man child cuck from South Africa that nobody fucking elected. Now you know where I stand on things, so if you're still here and you're not frantically rage typing into my comments box like a triggered conservative snowflake who's ass mad about people not joyously celebrating warplanes over Iran, then maybe consider following this channel after you watch the video and deciding whether or not you like the cut of my jib. Up front, real quick, tomorrow, Tuesday, 24 June, on the Sons of Liberty live stream that almost always takes place at 7 p.m. Eastern, we've got Sunny from Tell the People, a website that tells you which businesses supported or support Donald Trump. So there's a movie that came out in 1997 called Wag The Dog, and it's a satirical film starring Dustin Hoffman and Robert De Niro. The film centers on a spin doctor and a Hollywood producer who fabricate a war in Albania to distract voters from a presidential sex scandal. The film is very loosely based on a 1993 novel called American Hero, which was itself a fictional conspiracy novel about how the first Gulf War under George H.W. Bush was manufactured to help get him a second term. So after Israel Führer and genocidal war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu begged Mike Pompeo to keep U.S. citizens in Israel because obviously U.S. citizens being killed in Iranian retaliation would be a major draw for deluded MAGA cultists to get their blood up, and after Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard testified before Congress back in March that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon and that the country's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, had not authorized the nuclear weapons program, Mein Führer Netanyahu begged the U.S. to help him destroy the facilities because Israel doesn't have the 30,000-pound bunker busters that were needed to penetrate the deep underground facilities at Fordo. Donald Trump said Gabbard is wrong and decided to send U.S. warplanes to bomb facilities in Iran. Despite, spending over a decade of shitposting to social media that Obama was going to bomb Iran to save his presidency and distract from whatever made-up scandals and flagging poll numbers the orange dotard invented in his head, because Obama lives there rent-free after publicly dunking on and humiliating Trump at the correspondence dinner that one time. But I digress. Anyway, we didn't disarm Iran because they still have the same bombs that they had 3 days ago. But let's not confuse the issue with logic. Now, as soon as bombs started dropping, two things happened. One, Israel was like, whew, breathing room. Let's get back to genociding Palestinians, and started bombing Rafah, the last refuge in Gaza that holds 1.7 million Palestinians who have nowhere else to go. And by the way, all the Muslims that voted for Trump and all the super woke leftists who didn't vote for Kamala because she didn't speak loudly enough for their genocidal ideological gatekeeping purity detectors. This one is on you. And just to get in another dig because I'm petty, I hope all the people who voted for no new wars and lower gas prices and grocery prices are enjoying the new war and the spike in gas prices after Iran closed the Strait of Hormuz and the Strait of Tehran, which is sure to affect grocery prices since we rely on fossil fuels to get our groceries from outside the United States, since a significant portion of our food is imported because capitalism. Admin Tim 316 says, get fucked and die mad about it. Hashtag not sorry, not sorry. The second thing that happened after we bombed Iran was that the MAGA influencer circus got its marching orders, and all the usual suspects immediately started saying the same shit, trying to get the voter base whipped up to go to war again, despite the fact that Trump basically accused every Democratic Party presidential candidate of being likely to get us into a war, which never once happened, by the way, and he propped himself up as the president of peace. And predictably, the mouth-breathing oxygen thieves that constitute his remaining hardcore loyal voter base are super triggered by everyone else that isn't mindlessly getting down on their knees to help swallow their orange Jesus's load like the super sensitive snowflakes that all these MAGA fuckface ash clowns really are. So let me just point out that our intelligence agencies were so confident that there was no threat, The Director of National Intelligence, a hand-picked, bootlicking Trump appointee and shill, testified in front of Congress that there was no threat. We share intel with Israel. It's one of the few benefits that the USA actually gets from its quote-unquote alliance with Israel. Trump is the only person who said she's wrong. So either thousands of people are incompetent and or lying, or, I mean, it doesn't take a MAGA rocket surgeon to put two and two together, does it? Apparently it actually does. Anyway, I mentioned Wag the Dog because suddenly the news cycle is more concerned about that than they are Trump's name being all over the Epstein files that Trump said he was going to release and then never did, probably because he's implicated in a whole lot of pedo shit. The media and everyone else seems to have conveniently forgotten the ICE Gestapo snatching people up off the street. And just like that, we've forgotten one big butterface bill. We've forgotten American taxpayer dollars being used to fund concentration camps in foreign countries. We forgot about Republican politicians like South Carolina's Robert John May III, aka RJ May, being arrested for child porn. We've forgotten the Reich-wing nut job assassinating a politician and almost assassinating another one. Oh, and did I mention Trump's name in the Epstein files? Because Trump's name is in the Epstein files. The real threat here, and one that everyone should be more concerned about, is the massive spike in terrorism threats to the United States here on our home soil, especially since about 70% of our anti-terrorism and counterterrorism capabilities were just summarily dismantled and repurposed by the religious Reich wing's sweet potato messiah. Our joint terrorism task force has been dismantled. 34% of the FBI's active agents are now helping ICE instead of doing their previous jobs. He's gutted the National Security Council and replaced them with unqualified, no experience at all having DEI hires. The DOD is run by a drunk who can't keep a secret. Our intelligence allies don't share intel with us because they know we're unreliable. And oh, by the way, the person now in charge of our counterterrorism office within Department of Homeland Security is a 22-year-old college graduate whose only work experience, and I swear to God, you can't make this shit up, his only work experience is that in high school, he ran a lawn care business, which basically means he cut grass in the neighborhood, and I'm not knocking small business owners. And then in college, he was a stock boy at the local grocery store. The reason that he got hired is because he's all in on being a Trump bootlegger, having volunteered for the election campaign and making noise on social media. If I sound derisive and partisan, it's actually because I absolutely recognize how deeply we've entered dangerous territory. Even MAGA isn't having it, and an already unhappy and dwindling voter base is shedding more supporters. MAGA Republican Tom Massey called the bombing of Iran unconstitutional and went all in on a bipartisan War Powers Act with Democrat Ro Khanna. Now Trump is forming a super PAC to oust Massey from his seat. And the Reich wing, yes, I said Reich wing, bootlickers and simp bots have their marching orders. Every last one of them is saying the exact same thing. You're no longer MAGA if you don't support this. For those of you who either weren't alive yet or were too young to remember the Iraq War, I was already balls deep into my second army enlistment because I'm fucking old. We had the same exact playbook back then. You're either with us or against us, carried over from the 9/11 terror attacks, and everybody was expected to get behind W. Bush's desire to finish what his daddy started with Iraq. Speaking of Iraq, let's talk about warhawk Republicans puffing up their chests, waving the flag, and claiming that they're going to keep America safe again. Which, I mean, I already covered that a few minutes ago, but let's add some historical perspective just in my lifetime alone. Ronald Reagan's administration, using U.S. Marine Colonel Oliver North as his patsy to hold secret negotiations, sold arms to Iran, hoping to secure the release of American hostages held in Lebanon by, like, Hezbollah or somebody. Reagan's vice president, by the way, was George H.W. Bush. The selling of arms to Iran went on from 1981 to 86. At that time, there was an arms embargo on Iran, so this was in violation of that embargo. And by the way, profits from the arms sales to Iran were diverted to support the Contras, who were fighting the communist Sandinista government in Nicaragua, because, of course, the U.S. would back anybody fighting communism, even if those people, the rebels, were absolutely monstrous and terrible people. But I digress again. You know what else was going on between 1981 and 1986? I mean, it started in 1980 and went on until 1988, but the Iran-Contra affair took place smack dab in the middle of, wait for it, the Iran-Iraq War. Now, this was a complicated mess. Basically, Iraq invaded Iran and then got pushed back, and then there was this violent stalemate in which a whole bunch of shit happened. Iraq was backed by the United States and, weirdly enough, our enemy, the Soviet Union. What's even weirder is that Iran received aid from Israel. Yeah, I didn't even understand what fucking weird timeline this was, and I was alive for this shit. Anyway, throughout the 80s, as we're selling missiles to Iran, we're also selling chemical weapons and other military hardware to Saddam Hussein in Iraq. This same administration was fighting communism by arming and training the Taliban through the CIA, and by the way, we trained bin Laden, who just recently stopped being a wild college kid studying abroad That's right. We trained the 9/11 mastermind, and we trained our two-time Gulf War enemy. And not to put too fine a point on how awful Republicans are at protecting our country and keeping us safe from terrorism, but George H.W. Bush fumbled the first Gulf War by not wiping out Saddam Hussein, basically because it was felt that if a bunch of white dudes killed an Arab head of state, it wasn't going to go well, and that we should let the Middle East contain and deal with Saddam Hussein. So when George W. Bush goes charging into Iraq again, eventually in the aftermath, we created the Daesh, or as the world tends to call them, ISIS, which is a term I generally refuse to use so as not to let them co-opt an otherwise perfectly good name. Also, there's a band and some really hot chicks named ISIS, so there's that too. Oh, am I digressing again? Been doing a lot of that on this one. Anyway, so the United States has a piss poor track record at keeping America safe under Republican administrations. It's like all the bad shit we do to these foreign countries results in really angry people who now have guns and bombs and training that we gave them. That's besides propping up these anti-communist rebels who then turn into absolutely horrific dictators. Now, I'm not out here to make Democrats sound like saints, because they aren't. And I'll be critical of them when necessary. But you know what we don't see Democrats doing? We don't see Democrats trying to start yet another forever war, which is why a lot of MAGA people started questioning what the ever-loving fuck is going on with Trump. And I don't just mean the voter base. I mean people like Margarine Trader Greed and Alex Jones and Fucker Carlson and Thomas Massey. Like, what a time to be alive when I'm begrudgingly forced to be on the same moral side as those MAGA fuckface ass clowns. Anyway, for all you social media commandos and internet Rambos jacking off at the thought of the United States killing more brown people in the Middle East after you just cheered on Elon Mussolini's douche for making massive cuts to the VA and gutting support, I just want you tactical manatees cosplaying as Gravy SEALs assigned to MEAL Team 6 to know you can head down to the recruiter's office and sign up, because they just about waive everything now. But I bet you won't, because like Trump always chickens out, aka Taco, most of y'all warhawks are pussies. That's my time for today. I'm skipping my usual obligatory disclaimers because this is already a beefy rant. Don't miss tomorrow's live stream at 7 p.m. Eastern, and shameless plug, go buy a t-shirt from me so I can afford the massive electricity bill coming my way for keeping my house a quote-unquote cool 75 degrees with a perimenopausal wife. Big Sarge out here. 2 claps and a Rick. Join or die. 1 team, 1 fight. Woo!
And now it's time for the Throatpunch!
"75 degrees with a perimenopausal wife." I'm gonna get in trouble with that because she watches my rants.